Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. On this episode of Italics, we're going to talk about two films, The Girl in the Fountain and Piano Lessons, The Life and Art of Germán Diaz Nieto. Anton Giulio Panizzi's documentary, The Girl in the Fountain, a double portrait of icons Anita Ekberg and Monica Bellucci, opened at the Torino Film Festival last November. Francesca Khalifa and Anton Giulio Panizzi's project Piano Lessons, The Life and Art of Germán Diaz Nieto, is a documentary which tells the story of the unsung hero Germán Diaz Nieto, pianist and pedagogue whose devotion to teaching has touched and formed generations of accomplished classical musicians. Anton Giulio Panizzi is a director and TV producer. During the last 15 years, he has been working for mainstream Italian networks in mostly cultural entertainment and docu-reality shows. He has also directed the documentary My Way, The Rise and Fall of Silvio Berlusconi. Francesca Khalifa is an Italian-Egyptian pianist based in Brooklyn, former founder and artistic director of Classical Thursdays at the Brooklyn Center for the Arts, performer, researcher, and educator faculty at the Greenwich House School of Music. Khalifa was awarded by renowned pianist and musicologist Paul Badura-Skoda as the winner of the Ferrara International Piano Festival in 2014. Welcome, Anton Giulio. Welcome, Francesca, to Italics. You're here, so we're home for you, and you're coming back after a long stay in the United States, so it's wonderful to have you. Today we're going to talk about two films specifically. So let's start with Anita Ekberg. Why Anita Ekberg?
Anita Ekberg because there were the screenwriter who was passionate by that character, Camilla Paternò and Paolo Jacobi. I didn't know the story of Anita Ekberg, but then they wanted to follow this story, and at a certain moment they called me, they called the producer, and we all together decided that Anita Ekberg had a wonderful story to tell, but at the same time we wanted to give a twist and see Anita Ekberg through the eyes of an actress of our days. That's why we called Monica Bellucci.
I think it's wonderful because we have Fellini, Ekberg, and Bellucci, right?
Yes.
Of course, Anita Ekberg was already famous before she walked into the fountain, right? Yeah. She was already a famous actress. People knew who she was. So we have Fellini and Ekberg, who's of a certain era. Now we have Monica Bellucci, who is coming in with a whole different social background, right? Because we're post-gender, sexual revolution of the 70s and things of that sort. What were some of the challenges, both for you as well as for her?
I think that it's a way of being a star. There is a lot of differences from the 50s, and be a woman also, be an actress, yeah, in the 50s and 60s and nowadays. And I think that for Monica was difficult to understand how difficult it was for Anita. So that's the effort that she made, and she empathized with Anita and with the character at the same time. So for me, it was difficult to understand how the time in Italy that was like the best time of Italy actually was full of a lot of prejudice about women and about stars.
And you're also, however, dealing with this icon, Federico Fellini, right? Because it may be Anita Ekberg who is the sort of subject matter, but Federico Fellini's ghost has to be over your shoulder.
Yes, I think that we didn't want to touch Fellini's icon because it was too big to touch it. I mean, of course, we had to talk about it. We have to, but for example, we didn't reenact the scene of Trevi Fountain, and we didn't put the real scene of Trevi Fountain. We just found some footage in the archives that showed the behind the scenes of that scene, which is very interesting because it was February and it was very cold, and Anita Ekberg was actually a real good actress, and the square was full of men watching her. I think that we didn't touch Fellini, and we did a good choice because we went around him. We understood how Anita had this relationship with this man that made her a star internationally.
And Bellucci, there were a couple of really great scenes where she's working with a coach.
Yes. De Sanctis.
De Sanctis.
Sulle mani, fai sempre un po'.
Yes, that was a scene that it was, in my opinion, it was the scene that better explains the movie itself, because it's Monica Bellucci, which is a star, because actually is a international star,
Right.
try to understand, and she doesn't get the it's difficult to understand how an actress can emulate another actress. So it's difficult to understand what's behind the other actors. So that's a scene that, in my opinion, it's like iconic for the whole movie. It explains the whole movie in one scene. And that scene was improvised. I mean, Monica didn't know exactly what would happen. I talked to De Santis, and we decided what items, and then we go, and then we cut.
What things did you discover about Fellini and Ekberg especially, but also about Bellucci, although Bellucci is still, in full stride in her career?
Well, I discovered a lot of things. First, the Ekberg had this wonderful career before coming to Italy, and she was already a star. She was a pin-up. She was really in the studio system. And also that she made great choices for her time, and she was just beyond the other people because she was very free and very. And I think Bellucci, she's has a lot of things in common with Ekberg, but at the same time she manages her life. She knows. I mean, also because our days are different, but she makes wise choices, and she knows what to do, and she's not like driven from other people.
Yeah. One of the other things that came to mind was the fact that Ekberg belongs to that generation in which the actors belonged to a studio.
Yes.
They had a contract. That contract went for 5, 7, 10 years. Bellucci is totally independent, right?
Yes. And Ekberg didn't want to belong to that system. When she was under the contract with Universal, I think, she was really suffering that. So she wants to be free. And Bellucci, the opposite, she decides what film to do. She decides what theater piece she wants to act. So it's the opposite. But I'm glad it's like that. I'm glad that the system changed.
Yeah. So you did 2 documentaries in 1 year.
Actually, it was way more than 1 year, actually, because...
no, but I mean, they came out in 2021.
Yes, they came out in 2021.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. We finished piano lessons in August 2021, or maybe June 2021.
Yeah, in the summer.
And we finished the same thing, Her in the Fountain.
Yeah.
And then both were chosen by the Torino Film Festival.
Yeah, I saw that. That's wonderful.
That's wonderful, yes. Then, of course, they have different lives, because The Girl in the Fountain, then she went in theaters, and then now is going to be released internationally. And Piano Lessons was chosen for another festival in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
And then it went on television for a channel called Classica, that is on Sky in Europe. It's 2 very different films.
And it's really interesting because I didn't know, in doing, some research for our conversation, Herman Diaz taught at Brooklyn College.
He did,
which is
yeah.
part of the City University of
Yes.
New York. And here we were with this wonderful, outrageously talented pianist who's here in New York City.
Yeah, Herman has been, teaching at CUNY, so Brooklyn College, for many, many years. I think almost until the end of his life, actually. He raised a family of musicians and artists, and you can find them everywhere, from Broadway to Carnegie Hall. So it's incredible what he did.
Yeah.
And the legacy that he passed on is really one of the most prestigious traditions that Europe has. Because, he was a student of the great Claudio Rau, Chilean pianist who had studied in Germany with a late student of Franz Liszt. And that's an incredible tradition. And when I came to New York, I was surprised that no one knew this story in Europe. There's no knowledge around the fact that Arau taught, and a majority of the effort that he put out there as an artist was also going into the teachings. And I think, there was a book that came out in June 2014, and Herman passed in July 2014. And this book narrates and really gets in the depth of the work that Arau did as a teacher. And the book is written by Victoria von Arx, which is one of the interviewees. And it really gets in the depth of what really this tradition is, not only in terms of what is their philosophical approach, but also what is the physical approach to performing and to reading a score. And what we see and what we actually did in the documentary is not only talk about that part, because we have touched that part, you know, the physicality at the piano, the way we read the score. But I think what people walk out, when they watch this movie, they walk out with a feeling that really what the tradition was about was love. It was a personal connection. And I think it's incredible that it went in that direction. It was unexpected, but I think I'm very proud of this movie.
So he left Cuba way before the revolution.
Yes.
And came to the United States and basically stayed in the United States. He married an American and they had their life here. And his brother instead, because you introduce us to his brother who is 100.
He actually
It's his older brother.
Away.
Oh, he passed away?
in October 23. He passed away, and October 25th he would have been 103.
Ninguno de mi familia era músico. El único que empezó la música fui yo, accidentalmente, porque yo no pensaba estudiar música. ¿Que por qué tocar piano? Pues bueno, porque le gustó oírme tocar a mí.
If Herman would have lived longer and I would probably be part of the community that he created in a different way, I would probably have never known Alfredo. I would probably have never done that trip to Cuba to find out the roots of my teachers, you know, my mentors' background. And when I met Alfredo, I had no idea he was such an important person, such an important figure in the classical music world in Cuba. And I think that discovery really changed, even artistically, it really shaped me. And it kind of encouraged me to take different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all went to interview Alfredo in Cuba. And there was a scene I thought was really sort of interesting, more than interesting.
The rich up. The rich up.
And it really sort of made me think about how intricate it is, you know, to play the piano or play any instrument, of course, here with the piano, that all we see usually are hands moving back and forth, but we don't realize that maybe there are these other movements that are taking place, and there's a reason for those movements
And also
take place.
all the body, and that makes me think that the body is an instrument. Like, for example, the pianist, I learned myself how they use their body. And also the actors, referring to the scenes we talked before, that it's the way you use your body, you can create art in different way. That's very interesting.
This is really part of the tradition I was mentioning before, coming down from Liszt. The idea that we have to use the entire body. That includes the back, but includes the arms a lot, the shoulders, but the arms. I think that attention to that specific, it's a holistic approach in my opinion. I think it really comes down to Liszt's teaching. And I think we explained that in the movie, we explored it briefly with Victoria. There are other traditions, the Russian traditions, a little bit more, four-arm movements. But yeah, we are, as musicians, we are seeing our instruments as prolongation of our bodies, so definitely.
Mm-hmm. It's also curious to me that Claudio Arrau, right, was sort of his mentor, and he learned from him. He was from Chile, and here we have a Cuban. So we're in Latin America. And is there a tradition?
It's a great question. I work a lot now doing, I want to say advocacy, but I don't know if it's correct. This is the artist's work. I'm working towards discovering more of this repertoire and bringing it out there, but it's not just Latin American. It's in general, any type of Latin classical music. It's so really little known. There is a huge tradition. There is a huge tradition, but they doesn't have a lot of visibility. This is the truth. So Latin classical music is not as performed as it is Western classical music as we intended, like European repertoire. It truly is a form of discrimination, I think. It partly is because there is no knowledge. I mean, there's ignorance around it, and partly it's because it doesn't belong to the long tradition that has been established in Europe, and then, it came to the States. In learning about Alfredo, when we interviewed him, he told us, the interview that we have in the movie is probably
It's
10
very,
minutes.
yes.
But I spent with him hours and hours, and the lesson was hours and hours. So I learned a lot about his work, and I learned a lot about what he was really, musically speaking. He established an entire system musically. He studied the folk music in Cuba, and he did a work that Bartók did in Europe. It's very similar. And the discovery of the difference, because Cuba has such a mixture culture, the Spanish, but also the African. And it was very clear in the work of Alfredo. It was very, very clear. But yes, and in Cuba there's an incredible amount of tradition, but so it's true for Latin America.
This is one of the issues, unfortunately, this knowledge gap, right, is one of the consequences, the negative consequences of the whole political situation in general, of a political, let's say, situation in general, where unfortunately there are all sorts of cultural articulations and manifestations that get cut off from the rest of the world. And of course, those of us who deal with European culture a little bit, we know that Cuba was always sort of a player, always an interlocutor, right?
Yeah.
And even in the sort of seemingly simple things such as Italo Calvino was born in Cuba. People forget that, right?
Yeah.
And there was, between Italy and Cuba, there was always a strong relationship that was economic, that was cultural, that was political. I mean, it dates way back before the revolution.
Yeah.
Herman's family was in Cuba, but it was originally Spanish. And the first piano teacher of Alfredo, Alfredo, by the way, was the first and only piano teacher of Herman in Cuba before Herman met Arrau. But the first piano teacher of Alfredo was Rosario Iranzo, who was a Spanish pianist from Valencia. And so it's an incredibly European tradition with a lot of, connection and intersections with other cultures and traditions, but it's a European tradition in a way.
Let me ask you the question that you pose on screen, and that is basically, what does a master pass on to his...
That was I was obsessed.
Was that yours?
Yes, because when Francesca came up with the
Yeah.
she just emailed me. We tried to put a documentary together before that,
Yeah.
and that failed. But then she emailed me that I have this story of my maestro. And I'm obsessed with the fact that there is a mentor. We all have
mentors.
Well, in the university field, it's like this, right? The culture passes on from a man to another disciple. And I think that's very interesting, and it's also very intimate. I mean, it's not only culture, it's not only the piano playing that passed on, but it's a personal thing. And I think the personal thing, it's all mixed with human and art are all mixed together.
Yeah. One gets a good feeling about Herman Diaz. Something warm comes through about him, And so for that, I say con tanto di cappello to the two of you, because you obviously brought that, were able to communicate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, to be very honest with you, I've had many teachers. I come from Europe. I studied in Italy, but I also studied in the Netherlands. I also studied in Vienna, and then I moved to the States. And I've had many experiences, musical experiences, professional experiences. But no one touched me the way Herman did, and not because he was a sentimental person who was particularly, but he had such a determination in helping you.
Yeah. So then you have to do that. And this is really the biggest.
I feel like he almost saw through you what you needed to do to achieve your potential. And I think that is something incredibly valuable. And we talk about art, but truth is we live in a world where we put dollar values to everything. So artists often suffer from I think, a complex of trying to sell themselves and trying to be successful. But I think we forget oftentimes that we need to define what success is for ourselves. So what is successful for me? not necessarily successful for you or for someone else. And I think this really came about with, I mean, for me, at least in my experience, it came about with Herman and meeting him, understanding what was successful for him. Because it's not what usually is considered successful. You know, this man had an incredible amount of students and a family of musicians, you know, Grammy Award winner, Tony Award winner students. And he lived in a very simple way. And he has been working since he was 20 until he was 90, until he died.
Yeah.
And he worked an incredible amount of hours per week because he had a mission, he had a purpose, and that was so much more important for him. And I think not just important for the things he wanted to pass on, but personally as a way to self-realize himself. So a way to actualize himself. And I think this was the most important thing that I learned.
El cirujano me preguntó que quién era mi pianista favorito. Entonces yo le dije, todos mis alumnos.
Thinking about all of this and watching some of the clips, there was an interesting scene for me. One of the people you highlight, one of the pianists, is at the piano, and over her shoulder there's another piano. And I just thought, oh my God, she's got two pianos in her. So you all pianists have this other challenge in a way that a lot of you musicians don't. It's not a trumpet, it's not a saxophone, it's not a guitar, it's not a violin, it's not even, you know, a bass cello. I mean, all those things we can carry around. The piano you can't carry around.
No, we can't. I mean, they're trying to figure out ways.
And they're kind of fetishist about the pianos because I don't know. There is a piece of the movie where Francesca and Erika Nikrentz, they're talking about the piano of Herman. You can see how they are excited about talking about this piano.
Now you can see the beautiful inside.
It's gorgeous.
My piano technician, he actually says that this piano is one of the best pianos in New York.
That piano is the piano Herman had in his studio, and he gave it to Erika after passing. He left it in his will. I have a Steinway that I inherited somehow from another student of Herman. There is this feeling that we're passing pianos around the community. And there's an understanding, first of all, a city like New York, having a piano and being able to practice at home is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Much bigger than I've ever met before, and I've lived in other places. But the other thing is, like, you want to have a good piano, because decent piano at least, you know, because that will really help you to focus on the actual issues.
Yeah.
It comes down to it, you have to sit down and play, you know. I can talk about how you move, but then you have to produce a sound. And so we do definitely have an important relationship with the sound, and so the instrument, yeah. You know, piano is an instrument that is predilected by composers because with a piano you can resemble an orchestra. And it has that flexibility, and it has that possibility to shape different sounds, also different ideas. You don't have that with an organ. And so a keyboard instrument that has that potentiality, I think it's only the piano.
Let's go back a little bit to the notion of the documentary in general. You've done basically documentaries.
I did My Way,
Yeah.
it's an interview of Alan Friedman to Silvio Berlusconi.
For many years, many journalists have asked me to tell them my life story. I have always refused.
I also did some other documentaries about classical music, about Teatro alla Scala. And I think it's a great way to tell the things you love, the things you're interested by. I mean, the classical music is not my world, but I'm really interested by that. I was in love with Fellini and with Anita Ekberg, so when it came through My Way, I loved it.
So am I correct in thinking that the documentary has actually earned more respect, quote unquote, because we also have the venues, the platforms, now that we didn't have 15 years ago, right?
My Way, for example, about Berlusconi went on the platform right away, so we couldn't do it without the platform.
Yeah. People who are not in film studies, I think, sometimes think the documentary is
Like the poor sister of...
just a sort of simple, realistic representation, right, of whatever the situation is, where instead you've done some interesting things with it.
Yeah, it can be both. It can be like a simple and nice documentary, like Piano Lessons, with talking heads, as you say, and but where there is this story that I mean, a lot of people cry in front of Piano Lessons because at a certain point you understand how strong is the feeling between the...
Maestro, do you miss Herman very much?
And then it can be documentaries that are completely like, I can say they can make you dream, like The Girl in the Fountain, which is like, we really don't understand when reality starts and fiction ends.
I like lots of things, but there are 3 things I like most. Love, love, and love.
Another level of doing a documentary, but there is no better or worse, they're just different.
Mm-hmm. Francesca, this is your first venture into movie making?
Absolutely, yes. And it was incredible because we met in the subway here in New York.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And we were talking over classical music, actually, and I got to see what he did with La Scala Theater, and I was very interested. And at the same time, I was working on researching about Herman and his story and understanding his background, and it didn't click for me that I could use the venue of documentary, because the documentary would make it accessible to more people,
Right.
and it would focus the story on something that is relatable. While writing a dissertation or writing a book about this, then probably only few people would be interested. And then it clicked at some point, and I thought, you know what, I'll ask him if he's interested. And it was incredibly, I want to say incredibly easy, but it's not true. It was challenging, but it was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was a lot
Good,
of fun.
good. So now you are obviously a pianist in your own right, and you have a number of concerts coming up in various parts of the world.
Yes. Well, you know, unfortunately with COVID, everything kind of took a stop. But things are bumping up again. And I have a concert series here in New York, in Brooklyn, and we launched last year. It's called Extensity Concert Series. And our main mission is to, you know, give more opportunities to communities that are less seen in the classical music world. For instance, Black classical music, Latin classical music, and women in music. And we just closed and wrapped up our 2nd season in March, which was entirely dedicated to women living composers. And we are bringing this in California in August.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there will be concerts coming up in Miami related to Alfredo Diaz Nieto. I'll have a concert at University of Miami. And then I will be touring, hopefully next year.
Yeah. And Don Giulio, what's on your...
Well, I'm still working for television, for Italian television, but I'm working for 2 projects. One is in the United States, in Provincetown, in front of Cape Cod, where there is a community that I want to explore. I know very well, but I want to tell. And another one is about, I don't know if you remember it, it was like Topo Gigio. It was a little puppet that was...
the Ed Sullivan Show.
She loves me. She loves me not.
You are in love.
The Ed Sullivan Show, and it was famous around the world. There is a great story behind that character.
Of course, Topo
hope-
Gigio
I mean,
was...
they're just in a very beginning stage, but I'm working on both of that.
Wonderful, yeah. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very-
Thanks for watching this episode of Italics. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.